2 and 1. Hello and welcome to the Woman's Cave.
It's all hers today because she has beach chairs in her car. So, you know, I follow wherever the comfortable beach chairs are.
It is. It's in my car because literally
right to champagne.
After this interview, it's going to be like directly beach time all day until the sun sets. But if you know anything about Jade, because this is me, Jade.
Oh, right, and I'm Ramona. Oh, early.
And early, so high five. Social distance. All right. So, if you know anything about me, you know that I love the beach. So, I'm going to be sitting in the beach. Like, we have a private beach that nobody uses in my community, and so I don't know why they don't put the chairs there, but I have been putting my chairs there for like a week and something. Because it's been nice. So I'm going to be out there working on my title.
Wow, and you got real excited about it.
Yeah, I am. I'm so happy. I'm super happy.
If you know anything about Jade, you know that her favorite beach is not here. It's in Greece.
But, you know, can't travel this
pandemic,
year.
therefore canceled Greek islands, and I'm very, very, very sad.
Well, my pocketbook isn't so sad.
Oh, yeah.
Because when that money got refunded to me, I was like, I can't believe I spent this much money every year on a trip. Oh, well.
But it's worth it.
It's worth it every year. So, that's Winona, and we wrote a bunch of books, literary life guides with pop poetry, a.k.a. our books. And I thought the voice was bad, y'all. It's gonna get a makeover. My book covers are now getting makeovers, which is super excited.
She just commissioned an artist this morning.
He's
been bugging me to do it for 3 years.
I called him. I was like, please. As a favor, actually not really, I'm going to pay you, but can you please send me in?
And then we also have our other book, And I Thought Being Grown Up Was Easy, and those are both audio books.
Yeah, so available on audible.com, and then the rest of the anti-authority.
13 of them.
13, Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and then we have the Misfit Guide series, which my arm is blocking. So, yeah, the Misfit Guide series, and then we have a departure book, which is If Only I Were Me, available on only BarnesandNoble.com.
And it's one of the rare times we do all poetry.
I know.
But
and also we're the co-founders of the 25 Hottest Indie Authors, Artists, and Advocate magazine.
196 pages long.
Absolutely. You can check out everything your ladies are doing on www.andwethought.com.
So you're not here to hear about us.
Absolutely. You're here to hear from our wonderful guests. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I am Ashley McFarland Bowie. I am a television network executive. I am a published author. I'm a teen advocate. I'm a church school teacher. I'm all things righteous and dope. Let's just leave it at that.
Wow, I like it.
I love righteous and dope.
I like it, man. I want to take it.
I want to take it, but then I feel like people might get the wrong idea because we do like to party. I'm not sure if righteous partying works together.
Oh, it works. You can certainly party. Yeah. There's certainly righteous partying.
All right. As long as it works together, we're cool with that.
So you are a television executive, a mom, a church school.
As you can see, I'm a mom. I got a lot going on.
How do you find time to wear so many hats?
Jesus.
Well, why would you? Your hair is gorgeous.
Don't wear the hats. We're just figurative hats.
I try, honestly, if I, not to get too preachy, I do. I'm a faithful lady, and I talk to God a lot, and I try not to really commit myself to anything that he doesn't feel comfortable with, and he doesn't, feel is in alignment with what he wants me to do with my life. So when I find that my day is full of stuff, I have a quick conversation with him, and I'm like, is all this for you? And whatever's not, I take it off the slate, and whatever is, I stick with it.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Wow.
That is amazing.
I was about to quote a scripture there, but I was like, that might take it a little too deep.
Don't take it.
Yeah.
Don't take it to church.
No, what scripture we going with? Take it to church. Take it to church. What scripture we going with?
We are doing our show.
Yes.
Can't take it to church today. Right now.
Correct.
Right now, no. Okay.
As my finishing school taught me, ladies never speak about religion, race, or politics. So I'm going to be a lady today. According to the book that was written in 1896. That's what my spinning shoe school was based on. So let's be a lady. Let's move on. Let's talk about your book. Why would you stop to become an author when you have so many responsibilities?
Oh, wow. Loaded question. Back in 2011, when I think I wrote the book, it's called The Truth Wrapped in Love. It was basically the result of me reading the Bible cover to cover. I was struck with a very debilitating, very rare neurological disorder called pseudotumor cerebri at the time. And it kind of just stopped me in my tracks. The disorder was something where cerebral spinal fluid was building up in my brain, and it was causing a lot of pressure. It put me in a position where I was blind temporarily, and it really just kind of knocked me off my feet. I couldn't work anymore, and I had a lot of time to myself. I was very afraid. I was very overwhelmed by what may happen, and a lot, honestly, like people are feeling now with the pandemic and a lot of the protests that are going on. A lot of people are, just afraid of the uncertain, and that's where I was. And having sort of grown up in the church, I just kind of kept hearing my grandmother in my head say, just read the word, just read the word. And I read it. I wasn't necessarily moved. It was very difficult to understand, but it did help me sleep better. When I was a kid, my grandma used to tell me to read the word when I couldn't go to sleep because it would just lull me to sleep because it was so boring. But in that reading and doing it consistently, whether it was boring or not, it started to stick, and it became very interesting. I'm a storyteller, so I was really drawn to the stories of the Bible, and I just kept reading, and I was taking a lot of notes and sharing notes with friends about certain insights I was getting about some of the people in the Bible and their life stories. And at a certain point, my mom asked me or suggested that I compile all of my notes and these emails that I was sending out into a bound book, because people were asking to sort of go back to things I had sent out prior. And I did. And it became a daily devotional book where I like to call it like the Cliff Notes to the Bible. Like if you feel a little intimidated by it, you can just read my book, and hopefully it'll push you over to reading the real good book, where I just kind of give like a very plain speak translation of what I felt God says cover to cover throughout the book, which ultimately is to love.
Fabulous. Fabulous.
She keeps talking about religion, so now I have so much in my head now. Yeah. Like, I'm about to do 14. But no, can I ask her something?
To ask her, like, the transition, because of how you are a TV executive, and if you look her up, like, she is amazing. I was like, why was she coming out the show?
Intimidated. I actually put on eyeliner.
I was like, who? But they start talking about, like, you started back in 2000 and something. I'm not going to say it, like, unless you want people to know.
Because once again, a lady never tells her age.
So I'm just, you started in the 2000s, and all the things that you've done from that point onward, it's amazing, first of all. And the second, when you talk about your disease that you got, that had to be one of those moments where you're like, how am I going to continue to do run my business? How did you get back? I mean, after the Bible, what are the other three things that you would tell people that had to stop in their tracks and kind of like restart again?
Rebuild a career.
Rebuild a career again.
Rebuild. You know what? I think, wow, another loaded question. You guys are good. So three things, if I had to narrow it down to three things, to give a little context, I've been working in television since I was a kid, really. In high school, I had the opportunity to intern at CNN. And from then on, I, kept moving through the ranks of the television industry. And I did get to a point by 2006, I don't mind sharing the year, where I started my own production company. And I was sick about 4 or 5 years later. And at that point, I felt like I was really at the top of my game. I was show running. I was making a lot of money. I was pretty young. And I think I was recently engaged. Like, things were really looking great. And then I just got stopped in my tracks, and I was kind of down off of my feet and not working for about 6 to 8 months. So it was a good chunk of time where I had an opportunity to really reflect and really kind of look inward with who I was, what I'm about, what I want my life to be about, you know, why God made me, all that kind of stuff. Conversations that I kind of lightly had with God prior, but because I had no distractions, I could dig into that conversation a lot deeper. So the idea of sort of rebooting my career and getting back on track and getting back in the game, if I had to narrow it down to 3 things, the first thing would be to check fear at the door. I had to realize that a lot of what was making the time that I was sick so unbearable was the debilitating characteristic that fear has. Because when you are so afraid of death even, you stop doing everything. You stop dreaming, you stop thinking, you stop creating. And that's really who I am. I'm a creator. So I had to, definitely with the help of what I was reading in the Bible, relinquish fear. Just cast it out of my thinking. There was nothing to be afraid of. At the end of the day, whatever God wants, he's going to get, and I'm going to be okay regardless because he loves me. So what's there to fear? Nothing. So once I could get rid of fear, you know, that kind of opens the doors to, okay, if I'm not afraid of going back to work, I'm not afraid of getting sick again, I'm not afraid of overworking myself or getting stressed out. I think the second thing I had to embrace was, I think, the boldness of my voice. I had to embrace that, okay, if I'm not afraid to go back, if I'm not timid about jumping back into that pool, once I get in there, I got to make waves. Otherwise, why jump in? So I learned to really embrace my voice and feel confident about what I was called to say in various circles, be them professional or personal. Speak my truth no matter what. And then the last thing was just to make sure to love myself through the process. Because if I get back in there and I get going and I start speaking up and I get, you know, pulled this way and that way into what presumably would be a prosperous route, because I felt like I was doing what was the right thing to do, I have to take care of myself in the process. I have to be patient with myself. I got to love myself. I got to take time out to enjoy the things that I am working so hard for so that I don't burn out. Because once you burn out, what was the point of doing it anyway? So those would be the 3 things.
Okay, so you have very valid points. Like, we're just over here like, yes.
Especially the burnout point.
The burnout point, because it's very true. When you start to burn out, you're just like, I don't care. I just want it to go. I just want to stop. But, like, I just want to stop. And I think we've been there.
Oh, yeah.
We've been
if it wasn't for a pandemic, we would have definitely been burned out.
I mean, we didn't want a pandemic on
We didn't want a pandemic. We don't want to wish a pandemic on anybody.
But, I mean, if it wasn't, we would have burned out. And now that we have time to reflect, I think that we were like, wow, we would have really burned out. What are the things that we don't need to do anymore or focus on so much? What do we need to? Yeah. And to accept it and be like, I'm okay with this. Yeah. Which we write about all the time, and hence why
I'm having a hard time with that acceptance thing.
If only I were me, that's where it actually came from, because people were saying you're doing such a great job. You're doing, like, if only, it's like you are so amazing, awesome, and you're like, I'm not the person that I think I am. But when we wrote that book, we actually figured out maybe we are those people. We didn't accept it yet.
A good friend of mine, his name's Emmanuel Coleman, lives down in Atlanta. He has a great phrase called leading while bleeding. And what that speaks to is people who are called to lead and who are called to speak up and to help others and nurture circumstances and situations. But when they don't take time to care for themselves, they're bleeding out. And whatever they're offering to the world will ultimately get undermined by their own inability to care for themselves.
Absolutely, and I love this so much. I'm glad she came on our show.
Yeah, now you're fortifying what Jade is saying.
I've been saying it, and Winona's been like, "Girl, go ahead. Yeah. We don't do it this way." And I'm like, "We should really, girl, go ahead." Thank you.
We spent like 26 weeks on the road.
Most
of the time. So we've been doing it for 3 years. This will be our 4th year.
Yeah.
This is the first time we're not on the road. So it takes a lot of time to reflect and to figure out what you're doing right and to figure out what you're doing wrong. And it turns out while you're on the road, you can't build a strong foundation for what you need at home. That's not at home, but I mean like in your home office.
Yeah, in your home office. Yeah, for sure. If your house isn't in order, whatever else you try to build, it's going to be built on sinking sand. So you got to focus on the foundational part of all of this, and that's a big lesson I've learned over the years, that, you know, to stretch yourself. I think all of us kind of have this, especially women. We have this savior complex where, you know, we're throwing ourselves, you know, on the cross, and we feel like just that sacrifice alone justifies what we're doing. And, you know, as a believer in God, like the cross, Jesus did that for me. I don't need to throw myself on the cross. Like, that's not my job. You know, he did that so we don't have to sacrifice ourselves. We're here to live very full lives to benefit other people. And when we don't do that, we're just kind of messing up the whole ball game.
That's kind of true.
Okay, I have one question.
I know you. Please ask your question.
So you have a very strong ability to do storytelling, and I'm noticing that you were at like I would call it the modern day renaissance of the African American story. So how has that helped you forward?
That's just Winona calling it that. We might call that.
I mean, I am honored. I'm humbled.
I was watching a movie last night, and I was like, yeah, that is what we used to play. Like, I remember seeing all these characters, and I'm like, no, now I think about it, in the 90s, they kind of changed what African Americans play, and you
because we've been watching a bunch of 90s flicks on Netflix
right now, right?
On Netflix, yeah.
We're watching that.
Has that helped you when you started to restart your career back into like using the medium of television and/or movies? Did that help you at all? Give you a different perspective?
I don't know if it kind of factored in at that stage. I think so. I work in unscripted, and not by my own design. I just kind of landed there by way of the track of my career. But I was raised on scripted shows. I'm an 80s baby, so a lot of the Cosby Show and Family Ties and Cheers and, you know, that sort of stuff really influenced and informed what I thought, how I thought people should be presented in television. And I think because I have an appreciation for storytelling and, you know, creating very rich, authentic characters just from reading. I love William Faulkner. I know it's not like a super popular author amongst Black folks, but I do love how he tells stories. And I love, you know, Toni Morrison, who is influenced. Yeah. Darnell Hurston, Langston Hughes. I love, you know, as a kid, I love Judy Blume. Like, I like people who create very universal characters with like a sort of like sullied background. So they're flawed and they're real like us. And yes, I think that influenced how I approached unscripted, because when I came into reality television, unscripted television, it was kind of like a free for all. There were no real rules to it. It was a new genre of television. Everybody was just kind of like creating what they thought this was. So I had the freedom to really approach it in my own unique way. And I was certainly, you know, mentored by great story producers and directors and producers who really encouraged me to lean into the real, like the real. So yeah, in reality shows, you're going to track certain softly scripted storylines, but within that, you really want to be able to craft a character out of a real person, which is hard to do. When you work in scripted, you can just start from in scripted television or in film, you can just start from scratch and you're just like writing what you want this person to be. in unscripted television, you're using a real person, and you have to identify with the real characteristics of that person to really package it in such a way that it's easily digested by viewers. And that's what I think I bring to the table when I go to story produce or create television shows. I like to present real people as dynamic characters that viewers can connect with in a human way. So I could have a white cast or a black cast or a Hispanic cast, but the stories would feel universal, and they would feel like something anybody could get behind and be entertained by.
I love that answer. You're making me think of reality TV as the 3D memoir. I think it is.
I mean, it is, if it can be used properly, like when it's not perverted and exploited. There is a quality of unscripted television that can really resonate with the hearts and minds of most people, which would explain its popularity. Outside of it being a lot cheaper to produce than scripted television, it's also very popular because it sort of replaced the soap opera genre. We now have an opportunity to like really latch on to these journeys and trips of evolution of people, you know, in these reality shows that have been on for seasons. You know, the Kardashians, the Braxtons, the Atlanta Housewives. Like we feel like we know these women. Like we've been in their homes and in their lives for years. They're our Susan Lucci's.
That would explain the decline of soap operas.
That would. I was wondering what happened to us. Yeah. I was like, girl, I mean, people, like my grandmother would not leave her house. She'd be like, excuse me, it is 12:29. I cannot leave until 4:30.
Thank goodness for the DVR. So you can just like,
I couldn't explain it to my grandmother. Now I couldn't explain it. Like we could just, you go to the store. No.
Got to see it live. Anyway, yeah, you have a very valid point. So I have to ask, between scripted and unscripted, what do you feel are the differences besides, of course, in production value? But what do you feel that pulls out of like the qualities out of the producer? What do you think it does?
The approach is totally different. You know, scripted, you are completely in the realm of imagination. You can draw from the ether what you want your characters to be and where you want them to go and just make it up. In unscripted, you are limited by reality. You know, you have real human beings with real lives and real past stories that will, you know, certainly be divulged on social media if they don't come out on your show, that you have to take into account when you're telling their story. So a lot of times when I was show running and I would, you know, meet with the cast before we get going, the big conversation is, hey guys, I know you signed on to this not really knowing how deep this is, but we are really about to be all up in your business. So if there's something you're trying to hide or you don't think we're going to find out, we are. So we should talk about it now so that we can get ahead of it and make it a part of the story, and you can own the narrative and you can, you know, be in front of the viewer reaction and response to it, versus, you know, you're halfway through a season and we find out you got 2 baby daddies because somebody saw you in an episode and decided to research you online and then put it out on social media. And now you're embarrassed and you don't want to shoot the show anymore because this isn't what you signed up for. You know, let's avoid all that. Let's just be transparent and authentic and real from the beginning, and let's tell your story, flaws and all.
Love it. That is so I have a new respect for the realm of unscripted. I've always had. I have a respect for them always.
That is.
I mean, ever since like Troy started talking about what it took, I was like, good gracious, I'm going back to rewatch this with you. But yeah, now I have a better and more in-depth respect.
So, now we're at the end. Like, can you believe that we're at the end?
I can't believe it. I know.
Time just flew. So where can people find out more about what you are doing and your book online?
Wow. I'm doing a lot. You can certainly go to ashleymbuie.com, ASHLEYMBUIE.com, and you'll learn more about my story. You'll get information about the book and how I operate as a lifestyle, things that you may want to, integrate into your own life with regards to faith and practicality of faith. I also have a website called Bird's Eye Entertainment that speaks a little bit more to my work as a producer. I'm currently a network executive, so I don't do much work through the company anymore, but that gives you some background as to some of the things I've been involved with. And you can just Google me. Like
Absolutely. And your book is available on Amazon, correct?
It is. The book is available on Amazon, The Truth Wrapped in Love by Ashley McFarland Bowie. The e-copies are available on Amazon, and you can order a hard copy through my website or just email me directly. My email is on my website too, and I'll mail you personally a signed copy. Again, it's, of all the things I've done in my life, including my children, and that's saying a lot, it is the most proud I've been of anything. The book, I think, hopefully is long lasting and can really help people who are in spaces in their lives where they don't know what to do. This gives you a little bit of hope.
Thank you so much for coming on and taking your time out, because we know that you were super busy. So we thank you so much for coming on.
I don't know if y'all can hear the baby in the background. She was just like, where are you? But my son is up there playing with her, so I'm sure he's done something to her to irritate her.
We'll just hurry up and wrap it up. So I'm carrying it up.
No, I'm kidding. I say that in jest to say that, there's a lot going on, but I feel like there's always an opportunity to connect with other people and to share my story, you guys' story. I learned a long time ago from my grandmother that, your ministry is in your testimony. So as much as we can all just kind of talk about who we are, what we do, where we are, and what we're doing, the more people can really learn about how to be comfortable in their own skin and just live their lives the way they were built to live it authentically.
I feel like that should wrap up our show, but I have to do the other wrap up. So what she said, and then I have to say some stuff, but then go back and listen to her final sentence, and then that's how I actually wrapped up the show. All right. So here it is. You can find out everything your ladies are doing on www.andwethought.com. And while you're there, go to Ladies tab, take a moment, go to Ladies tab, go down to the charities that we proudly support. It will be in the middle. And yes, we know that times are hard. So money, maybe not so much. Maybe you don't even have things. Maybe not so much, right now. But if you could just take a moment and go to their website and just send them an email and say, look, we see what you're doing. Thank you for doing it. Who doesn't need encouragement? We all need some encouragement to be like, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? And someone is going to say, yes, I saw your website. Thank you for doing this. Give them encouragement to continue on with their good work. So we thank you in advance for that. And just remember that wisdom is all around you if
you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Winona
and Jay's. Time for the beach.
Oh, yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.